If there is one thing that the Lebanese people do agree on, is that life in Lebanon has become unbearable by the day, and so these elections are seen as a make it or break it for the future of the country. It's past 9 p.m., -2 degrees. They've managed to arrive safely in Hungary. Many of them are too tired, too emotional to even speak. We are reporting from a very, very chilly Budapest this afternoon about the new government that took office in the Czech Republic. Across Europe, we are seeing full lockdowns, more restrictions, and travel corridors being shut down once again. But despite all of these efforts, the numbers of cases and deaths continues to rise. These are just some of the proof that despite the COVID crisis, the climate crisis needs to continue to be a top priority. And as rescue workers continue to try and find some remains in this mud, here you can see the sheer dimension of their challenge. From that river on, it's Venezuelan territory. And you can still see a lot of people using this crossing to get into their country or to come into Colombia to get food and medicine, including small children, as we can see right now.
Let's go to Mia Alberti, who's at the UN base in Nakura, where both parties are going to exchange their sign.
Getting to Lebanese oil and gas could take up to 3 to 4 years. So until that time, Lebanon will have to find other ways to boost its economy, which is in a free fall at the moment. But what the government has said repeatedly is that they are hoping that this deal will show the international community that Lebanon is back at play. So they are hoping to use this deal as leverage to talk with the World Bank, to get cash assistance from them, to tell the IMF, the International Monetary Fund, that they will have mechanisms in place to move the economy forward.
Let's get to journalist Mia Alberti, who is inside one of the banks that is still being held up.
Hey, Becky, that's right. Well, we have one man that entered this bank around 8 hours ago, along with his wife and his lawyer. His name is Alberti. There is one hostage left, which is the manager of the bank. She's the one that has been negotiating with him. But outside of the bank, there are dozens of people cheering for his success.
The situation inside of the hospital is really dire at this point. The last time I spoke with a spokesperson of the Ministry of Health in Gaza, he described the situation of those dozens of premature babies who were removed from incubators from the lack of oxygen. They just published a video inside of the Al-Shifa hospital as Israel is carrying out this operation, which is still ongoing, and doctors are trying to work in an environment completely filled with dust, which is of course affecting the patients there. So, and again, as this is happening, there are so many warnings from the United Nations, from other aid organizations, saying that, you know, an attack on a medical center is a violation of international law. It constitutes a war crime.
First, let's speak to Mia Alberti, who is at the Venezuela-Colombian border. Mia, good to see you.
There are crowds, huge crowds already gathering at the entrance of the bridge, preparing to go across into Venezuela, and they have been chanting freedom, freedom, freedom. They have been there for hours. So the situation is quite tense. The aid is actually behind me in these trucks that you can see. It's ready to go. The question will be if they will be able to cross. Vitaly arrived from Ukraine just a few hours ago. He's showing me why he left. This was the view from his window just a few days ago. It took 5 days for Vitaly, his wife, and their 12-year-old daughter to travel from Chernihiv in northern Ukraine to safety in Hungary. The memories of what they've lived through are still fresh.
You cannot imagine how scary it is to live on the 5th floor and see helicopters coming in your direction, shooting and seeing everything on fire.
Now they found safety at this emergency center on the Hungarian border. Here, away from the war, refugees face another, more silent battle: trauma. This therapist, who has asked to remain anonymous, is one of many volunteers joining this front line.
Many of them want to speak about what they went through, what they left there, who they left there, but many of them really don't. Today that someone started to speak about it, the story was seriously horrible, and then in the middle of the story, I didn't ask, they started to speak about it, and in the middle of the story she said that, okay, she don't want to speak about it anymore, she don't want to speak to me anymore. It happens.
Trauma experts say Ukrainian refugees will be vulnerable to developing lifelong emotional distress. Overcoming the horrors of war is especially hard for those who left someone behind.
Those things are mostly done. Horrible things, but they are done. These people will stand up again, build a life again, not forget it, but get over it, most likely. But what they cannot get over, and that could be just so horrible, who they left there to die, because they are many times using this term, actually.
Most children are okay, but there are exceptions. For the most severe cases, she has found a simple way to help.
And it works. It works.
It's a universal language to decodify what are very complex and difficult memories. All of the refugees here have different tales to tell. Some of them still too hard to remember, others impossible to forget. Gianni is a smuggler along the border between Colombia and Venezuela. Every day he helps dozens cross the so-called trochas, dangerous paths that connect the two countries.
Everyone came here with the same purpose, to help our families, to send them money to buy food or other stuff they lack, clothes, medicines.
Today he is being paid to smuggle this family back to Venezuela, where they live. They come to Colombia twice a week to buy food and other supplies, especially for their two children.
Everyone came here with the same purpose, to help our family, to send them money to buy food or other stuff they lack.
Crossing the trochas is illegal, but Gianni and other human smugglers say the Colombian police doesn't bother them. Although the Colombian border forces are obligated by law to stop those trying to cross illegally, they just watch as hundreds of people walk by. In fact, these two Colombian guards even gave us directions.
After the border, we can't guarantee your protection. The divide is the river ahead.
The Colombian army says it's not available to comment, but an official told me the officers ignore people crossing the border illegally to help with what they call a humanitarian situation. But Gianni says the story on the Venezuelan side of the border is very different. He charges people 20,000 pesos, that's $6, and has to give half to the Venezuelan authorities. But the bribes do not guarantee safety, especially when crossing this river, the last frontier between the two countries. Everyone here is at the mercy of Venezuelan snipers, who are accused of firing live rounds, an accusation the Venezuelan government denies. Janina and Marcelo are just 19 years old, but they have already lived through more than most people their age.
We're bombing the houses of our friends, even friends that was bombed in their house, and they say, no, we are not safe anymore in Kiev. Just switch on the car and let's go somewhere, I don't care, but outside Kiev.
This group of friends fled Kiev driving through the night, scared, meeting checkpoint after checkpoint. Janina's mother decided to stay. She now feels guilty about reaching safety without her.
I said, Mom, like, we need to leave. She was like, she didn't want to understand that it's true, that it's really going on. I was crying all right, it was complicated. So after 1 week, my mom wrote, I regret that I didn't go with you. I regret that I didn't listen to you with Marcelo, and I would so much leave.
They all want to go back home. Meanwhile, like many refugees, they're staying with Gabby, a volunteer.
These are very young people. My daughter is 22 years old, and for example, Janina, she's 19, so she's like my own. If we had to flee like this, I can't imagine that she's in another country and she has to be taken care of by someone else. I wouldn't even sleep at all.
Marcelo is waiting for a humanitarian flight to return to Ecuador. Janina doesn't know if she'll go with her boyfriend. Her heart is still in Ukraine. It's very visible, the emotional trauma that these young people are going through. It's also very visible that their minds are still divided between what happened and what they are hoping to do, which is to go back home. And on the other hand, realizing that certainly they will have to start preparing for a future outside of Ukraine. For this Ukrainian-Nigerian couple that fled Kyiv, that means trying to go to Canada.
To rent an apartment here is very expensive. It's very, very expensive. So that is one of the most difficult challenges we might be experiencing. But we have no idea how long we're going to stay in Hungary, okay? But let's see. We don't know.
This family of 4 found a place to stay with a retired Hungarian-Canadian couple. Shandor was once a refugee himself. For him, helping wasn't even a question.
There was not much of a conversation.
We finished lunch. Shandor said, let's go down to the train station and see what's doing and perhaps get a family. And we went.
You can ask, who needs it more, them or us? And it will turn out that actually probably we are the one who need it more.
These refugees lost their jobs. Their daughter is out of school. This is not home and it's not permanent. But for now, it's more than enough. 2 very different families breaking bread over a conflict that is not theirs, but which brought them together.